Okay, looks live. We're in it. Welcome, everybody. Guys, thanks for your patience. Those of you that were in the waiting room, we are live now. This is kind of a warm-up call that we're wanting to talk amongst ourselves. So you can think of this as just a conversation that's between Celeste and Sarah and I about how we're going to be looking at the 2024 predictions workshop. Are you getting feedback when I'm talking? Are you hearing echoing?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. So before we get going, I just wanted everybody to introduce themselves. I'm Tiffany Harelik. I have a master's in health psychology. I've been studying astrology since the year 2000, and I offer retreats. I offer a membership, and I'm the author of the Wise Skies Digital Astrology Calendar, which is my favorite product. I hope you love it too. But I'm here really to help you find your mission with astrology. And so my work is based on helping people find their psychic gifts, their spiritual gifts through the nature of looking at their chart. So you can find my work at tiffanyharelik.com, and I'll pass the mic to Sarah.
Okay, so before Sarah jumps in, Nadine is saying there's feedback.
Okay.
Maybe if we mute ourselves when I don't know. You muted yourself, Tiff? Yeah. So my name is Sarah L'HRar. I'm an astrology teacher and a consulting astrologer based in Montreal, Quebec. I'm a master mentor and a certified astrologer under Deborah Silverman, and I teach from beginners to advanced astrologers how to be a good astrologer. My website is astroauntie.com. I also have a retreat that I'm hosting, which is a yoga retreat, and astrology retreat, which is in January, and a monthly new moon group where we look at the astrology of the month ahead. And you can find all about my services on astroauntie.com. And Celeste, you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Celeste Brooks of Astrology by Celeste. I'm an astrologer, coach, and intuitive, and I am a teacher. I teach for Kepler College. It's an astrology college. I teach about transits, one of my favorite topics, as well as I'm a board member for the Organization of Professional Astrology. And I have my podcast is called Celestial Insights. You can find it anywhere, and it helps you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. I teach monthly moon circles, or it's a gathering, and I'm going to be doing a mentorship program for aspiring astrologers or already professional astrologers through OPA, the Organization of Professional Astrology, starting February 16th. So I'm so delighted to be here and talk about, what we're seeing for next year.
This is awesome. This is going to be a really fun hour to spend together. Each of us have chosen one.
I think it's you, Tiff. There's something going on with your sound.
Good. Spirit's like, let somebody else talk. Let me try to mute both of you.
Let me.
Okay, so now if you're both muted, how's that? So it seems like that might be better. All right. So I'll just share that we are today we have each chosen one little special nugget from 2025 to share a little bit of insight about. But what we're doing is also promoting this bigger class that we're having on November 11th. It's become a thing. It's become a total thing. So we have an annual event, the three of us, that we have been doing annually on November 11th, 11/11. And we're going to give you so much juicy astrological tidbits to explore. We are going to go through the whole year. at that time. So please register for the class. It's only $33 investment, and you will refer to it all year long. We will send you the recording. You'll have great opportunity to take notes and ask questions with the three of us. We come from three very different perspectives. We have three very different views, and I love the synergy that happens when we come together and kind of jam and mishmash what we see and what we're seeing. I always learn something from these guys. I highly respect and look up to both Sarah and Celeste. And so I'm just so excited to be talking with you guys today, and also for the class that you got to register for. I'll put the link in the comments when I'm not talking. So ahead of time, Sarah is going to cover Neptune into Aries, and is that right? Is that what you wanted to do? And the nodes is the main thing. And then Celeste is also going to look at, there's an interesting retrograde cycle that's happening between Mercury and Venus that she's going to talk about today. And I am going to share kind of an off-topic piece on a fixed star. And so who should we have go first? What do you guys think? I'm asking you. Oh.
How about Sarah? Because she's going to talk about the nodes, and that's what happens first. And then I can do my thing.
Beautiful. I don't have the dates in front of my eyes, unfortunately, but what I know is I think it's in March, question mark?
2025, the North Node goes into Pisces.
Which month? January? I'm reading your lips. Yeah, January. Sorry. So I'm not the best at dates, and that's why I have Tiffany in my life, honestly, and our collaboration with Tiffany is a lot about Tiffany being the timekeeper of life, and for everybody who knows her work and who is a fan of her calendar. So in January, the nodes are changing sign from Libra and Aries. The North Node was in Aries and the South Node was in Libra. It is there now, and we just had a round of eclipses in Libra and Aries, and we will have another round of eclipses in Libra and Aries in March, April of 2025, the last one. And the nodes are switching signs from fire and air into earth and water. And so that really is a shift, and it goes, that's the order that it goes. So for 2.5 years, we'll have the nodes either in fire and air or in earth and water. And what's happened since the nodes had moved in Aries and Libra was that there was a lot of conflict. Aries and Libra, of course, is about war and peace as well, and about topics that have been very much in the forefront of the collective culture. And we're moving into something else, which is also about bettering society and how to build the world with more compassion. So I think that this is a very major theme going through 2025, that there is movement from fire and air, which are yang elements, and so active exterior, giving, generous, into earth and water, which are yin, which are more inwards and maybe compassionate and slower. So the energy is shifting from something that was maybe quite nervous into something that is more grounded, and the ability to address both the spiritual and compassion lacks with the North Node in Pisces, and what is needed to rebuild and to make better the world, which is the work of Virgo. And Virgo is very much about making better. It's earth and it's mutable, so it's about taking something and making it better. So this is like my hopeful take let's say. So my first, it's kind of like my prayer for where the nodes could take us in a way. Yeah.
This is awesome, Sarah. Or is it cool if we layer some stuff in on what you're saying?
Please do. Yes.
Okay, so and also when we're thinking about what to eliminate in 2025 and what to embrace, right? If we've got the North Node going from Aries into Pisces, we've got the South Node moving from Libra into Virgo. What I think about, well, let's eliminate the worst side of Virgo and let's embrace the best side of Pisces is kind of what I think about it. So the worst side of Virgo, this isn't picking on Virgos. It's actually one of my very favorite signs. There are negative characteristic traits that come through the expression of the Virgo lens. And this is overthinking, overanalyzing, getting stuck in analysis paralysis, perfectionism, being overly critical of yourself or others. And so these might be some big opportunities to just not do that anymore, to just not let that be part of your story anymore. Just bite your tongue in those moments. I woke up overthinking, overanalyzing something. I have these honey labels I would show you. And I got them all printed out for my honey products, my lip balms, all my stuff. And this morning I woke up and I realized I had a previous idea for a label but I've already printed them all. It doesn't make sense to redo it. There's no place for overthinking, being overly perfectionistic in 2025. That might be a hard thing for a lot of people because the mind wants to chew on stuff, right? The mind has a hit when it gets to chew on stuff that doesn't matter. So you could ask yourself, right, when you're contemplating this nodal shift, does it matter? Do I need to be overly thinking through all of this? And then that shift into that North Node, what do we want to embrace is the best side of Pisces, right? That side that's in flow with life, that is creative, that is compassionate, of course, that is all about kind of that more altruistic side of humanity and embracing your spiritual vision and spending time in woo. And so, yeah, Virgo and Pisces, right? The layers of that, like the duality of that is stark. You've got the hard lines and the boundaries and the thought processes of Virgo, and then you've got the juicy, flowy, spongy, woo-woo side of Pisces that's practical and ethereal. And so it's not necessarily about blending them. It's about letting go the challenging sides of one and embracing the positive sides of the other. So I'll mute myself again.
Wait, Celeste, you're still muted.
I'm really excited for this nodal switch. Yeah, well, especially because I have a North Node in Pisces, so I'm going to be having my nodal return. But I also think about this is the axis of health. So Virgo, the physical or physical health, and Pisces, the mental or mental health. It's really an important time to do grounded spirituality practices to help us move through all of these changing energies. So whether it's every day you start with some breath work or a little mini meditation or walking in nature, I feel like it's really important because there's going to be a lot of changing energy, which we'll talk about at the workshop on November 11th. And yeah, so keep that in mind. So start doing it now. Tiffany has a wonderful product that I love called 40 Days of Spirit. This is a great thing. Tiffany, we're going to co-market that for January 11th because that's when the North Node enters Pisces. And what a great time to do 40 Days of Spirit.
On 1/11, the North Node moves into Pisces. How fitting. How fitting. We see you, North Node. Oh, wow. On 1/11. Yeah, I love everything you guys said. I think that we can, look at the astrology ahead and understand the possible shortcomings as well as what is needed for us to kind of address what the South Node could bring. I think we've all seen this. Times are intense lately, and it doesn't look like it's going to let down so soon. And so when times are intense, it's nice to have kind of like guidelines into where to go and how to address.
Absolutely.
Do you want to give a sneak peek of the eclipses since we're here? Do you want to save it?
I think we
I
should save
will.
it.
Mhm.
I'm a Taurus, and so I want to save it. Your two Taurus friends went save it. We're saving it.
And your Sag rising friend wants to give it all out there and talk about everything. All right. Okay. Very, very good. So if you guys have questions about that nodal shift, this would be a good time to drop them in the comments, and we're happy to review them, as well as make sure that it gets to be part of the presentation. So yeah, let's shift to Celeste.
Well, I want to just shout out to Nadine for saying the move feels like it's shifting from electric, which is like this outflowing. Aries and Libra are yang signs, to magnetic. So electric to magnetic. Yin signs, water and earth, magnetic, pulling in. So brilliant, Nadine. And so I want everybody to also realize there's very slow energy at the beginning of the year. This is not a year to shoot out of a cannon, because as we start the year, Mars, the planet of action, drive, and assertion, is retrograde, and it moves from the sign of, it's going to be about 0 Leo at the beginning of the year, to 29 Cancer, back into Cancer. So there's really the slowness of energy, but something I'm really interested to see how it shows up is the double retrograde, where Mercury, the planet of communication, thought processes, transportation, and commerce, and Venus, the planet of relationships, our values, beauty, and things like that, are both going to be retrograde. So in the sign of Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. So we feel like we're moving forward with these topics, and these are the personal planets, and then all of a sudden we're being pulled back. So just be mindful of that. The beginning of March is going to have this really kind of energy that's going to be a little destabilizing to people who aren't prepared for the shift. So Venus will be retrograde in the sign of Aries, and it'll move back into Pisces. So there's this start and back to finish up and end things around the relationship topics from March 1st through April 12th. And then Mercury will go retrograde March 15th through April 7th. So that period, March 15th through April 7th, is the double Mercury and Venus retrograde. This is not a good time to plan any big events that you're investing a lot of money into, because retrogrades bring delays, reversals, the collapse of anything contemplated. So this is not a great time also to go on vacation, like spring break. If you do, I mean, if you've already got something planned, it's not like it's going to fall to pieces, but there's going to be unexpected things that have to do with delays and reversals and things like that. It's definitely, if you've got any plastic surgery scheduled for that time period, cancel it. It's the worst time. This is when somebody's going to come out of their doctor's office looking like, we're talking on Halloween, looking like Halloween every day of the year. So be mindful of that. And yeah, it's a really interesting time period that I'll talk more about some predictions at the event.
It's also super rare to have the three inner planets going retrograde in such a short amount of time. Venus retrogrades and Mars retrogrades are not as frequent as Mercury retrogrades. We have Mercury retrogrades 3 times a year, every year. But the fact that in all of these months and in the span of 3 months, the three inner planets will be retrograde at the same time, that's a big deal as far as like slowing the energy down. And retrogrades are, of course, nothing to be afraid of. They're an opportunity to. So, myself, a Taurus, loves a slowing down, needs a slowing down of energy. I find that this is part of the natural pace of things to not move forward all the time. So, it's also, again, an invitation for more awareness and more attention to what's going on.
Awesome. And what I can contribute, I guess, to that is that I love retrogrades because I like to reevaluate things. And so I also just don't feel like the year starts in January, not to go into the mess of that conversation, but I'm like, yeah, let's hibernate until after April, and then let's come out when it feels like spring and that Aries things are going forward again. So I totally love what you guys have said and shared, and I can't wait to hear more about what Celeste has discovered with those two planets simultaneously. But yeah, I mean, the inner planets going backwards the first part of the year. I love what you said. This isn't a year to shoot out of the cannon and get things fresh start in January 1st. No, and that's the beauty of looking at astrology over time. You can seasonally see and plan accordingly. A lot of you guys are business owners. A lot of you guys use astrology for health reasons. A lot of you guys are on the spiritual path, of course. And so as you're planning your product launches, as you're planning your marketing campaigns, understand that the energy of the collective is going to be slower and more backwards. And so you can offer things that help people be more reflective, that offer things that help people go back over the details, offer things that are in alignment with the seasons of this life. So Celeste, do you have any more celestial insights for this part? Do you want me to go forward?
I think that's the tickle, and you can come for the full rub down on November 11th.
Save it.
Save it. All right, guys. So I wanted to share and contribute about this interesting little fixed star placement. So there was Kepler recently did a free workshop on fixed stars that you could probably catch the replay or find online. There's a lot to it. Bernadette Brady writes about the fixed stars. There's a lot of great resources if you want to go down that rabbit hole with me. The reason I picked looking at this one particular fixed star in 2025 in general is because, right, Neptune's moving into Aries, Saturn is moving into Aries, Venus and Mercury are retrograding in Aries. There's a lot of activity that happens in the sign of Aries, the nodes shifting off of the Aries pipeline. And so I thought, okay, well, what's happening in 1 degree of Aries? And I went and looked, and I found a little fixed star named Curb, or depending on which lineage you're using. But there is a fixed star in 1 degree of Aries, and it's known for the descriptions. Do you find the descriptions of this fixed stars to be very like Saturnian and malefic and like doomsy feeling? So this fixed star is known for the jilted lover, a sense of betrayal, a sense of abandonment, right? And so I was like, oh yeah, give me this topic, Spirit. Let's go deep into this one, because in 2025, I think because this fixed star will be activated so much by the transits, I don't think everybody's going through a breakup. I don't think that you personally are going to be experiencing being jilted by a lover. Some of you may. But the deeper, I think, way to look at that is to look at where we have abandoned ourselves, right? Where we have betrayed ourselves, where we have not followed our path, where we have not followed our North Star, where we, do all of that inner child work, where it's like, okay, yeah, that okay, I want to go left now. I've been going right and living by your rules, and I've been doing the things that society told me to do, or I've been trying to live up to the expectations of a partnership or a family system or a community system. And now I'm not going to betray myself anymore. And I'm going to listen to that small, quiet, little tiny voice of innocence and hope, right? That some part of your lineage in the past is waiting for you to come back to. If you think about the inner betrayal that happens, that's the yin yang that happens on the inside, the DNA double helix you can use in your visualizations to alchemize and repopulate and marry that side of yourself that you have forgotten about, that you have left behind. You can see this, like this resurgence or this, I guess, energy around, are you guys getting like marketed to by like everybody's doing breath work, everybody's doing somatic release, everybody's doing like the stuff with the hips and yoga and having these emotional experiences, right? This is stuff that is tied back into your physical system. There's a lot of books on this subject. Emotions Buried Alive Never Die. What is the one about the tiger? There's a ton on it, right? So you could go there, or you could simply work with the nodal shift and decide to eliminate those old stories, hyper-focusing, talking on the stories. You're building energy around something that you're actually trying to release. So keeping some of that in check as the planets are cruising over this fixed star, again, that ignites that part of abandonment. And if you are a writer, if you are into screenplay, if you are doing fantasy type work, which is not me, but if that's you, right, this topic is going to stir the hearts of many in 2025. So this topic is something that you could really work into your writing, your journaling, your stories, all of that. So this idea of lineage repair comes to me with Virgo too. In terms of lineage repair, a lot of you guys are familiar with the story and the research around that we have around rats that were paired with a beautiful scent, let's call it rose oil, and then there was a stimulus that was shocking them. So every time they got the rose oil, they got the shock, and it created a sense of fear in the nervous system. So their nervous system, every time they had something good going on, something bad happened, right? So you could see in the human mind where that might create a sense of self-sabotage. The thing that's interesting about this research is that for 7 generations, that seventh generation baby rat got the smell of rose, had the nervous system hit, right, of being in fight, flight, fright, freeze, and it didn't know why. It didn't know why. It just got the rose smell and had the freak out, right? And so for 7 generations, are you comprised of those stimuluses, that stimuli that have been paired in your nervous system? So that's why I think that this topic that this little fixed star is bringing up for all of us to be considering throughout 2025 is really powerful, because you can decouple all of your self-sabotaging tendencies that you might not even be able to understand. You might not need all these past life readings to go through the curriculum of the 7 grandmothers that pass this down to you. There can be a Piscean North Node healing, release, and blessing, and you can be one of those cycle breakers. So I'll mute myself again and let you guys discuss.
I got literally emotional while you were talking, because there's so much in there. That 0 degree of Aries is foundational to so much. There's so much happening over there. I've been studying Robert Blachke's work. Are you familiar? He speaks a lot about like the arcs, and the 0 degree Aries is really like the purest conjunction level that there is. It's the purest point of conjunction. And so to have big conjunctions happen at that 0 degree, it really represents the essence of what is conjunction, right? And every point in astrology, every point around the 360 degrees represents an aspect to 0 degree Aries. And so 0 degree Aries is the perfect point of conjunction. We have Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node all hitting this point, and eventually Saturn and Neptune will meet back there in perfect conjunction in 2026. And they'll go retrograde and just flirt with that 0 degree, 1 degree Aries all year long. And so the point of the conjunction is also the moment of realization. It's the moment of insight. It's the moment where you have the knowledge that a change needs to be made, and a change needs to be made by you. And so it's also the ultimate moment of responsibility. um and so the fact, everything you were talking about in that fixed star, the realization that something's up, and that you're actually alone in this, and that the change needs to be made by you are the individual. It's 0 Aries. You're not looking out to someone to come and rescue. It's a very tender point, and it makes me kind of emotional to think that this is where it's all happening. You know? I saw Celeste sneak out and go grab a book.
Yes, I wanted to grab my fixed star book, and it's a little book of fixed stars by Elizabeth Hazel and Michael Casey. And it says for curb, adventures, risk taking, and potential for accidents. So I like this adventures and risk taking piece, but be mindful, especially when that double retrograde from March 15th of April 7th, to slow down with the retrograde and do the inner work to avoid accidents, and doing that healing, that ancestral healing with the North Node in Pisces. I think that is so perfect. Yeah, that was really powerful. Really powerful, Tiffany, about the 7 generations. And 7, we think about Saturn. Saturn's in Pisces, becoming clear about this stuff that's lingering in your emotional realms, that's from your lineage. It's not yours. What can you do to release and heal what's not yours? I love it.
And Nadine was saying that her North Node is at 147 Aries. So that point is going to be so activated. Like, I really wonder, Nadine, what's going to happen for you this year. It's kind of exciting and beautiful. If you think on the level of like activation, if somebody has their North Node over there, their nodal return is happening. They've gone through all of that series of eclipses, and now there's all of these massive conjunctions happening over there. Like, talk about an activation year. Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's a great year for you to really be planning, Nadine, about what you want to bring forth. What dream? Neptune's going to hit
being
that.
in the dream right now. Stay in the
You
dream.
want to make a reality.
Stay in the dream right now. Go to bed.
Welcome to our predictions. Take a nap. Okay, so I also want to just go into what Celeste's topic there a bit. That right when Venus is retrograde, it's typically around a 40-day cycle. So it's not specific. This year it's 42 days. But the idea of all of this spiritual work, the North Node's into Pisces, you're leaning into that direction in 2025. That like layering just these 3 little topics, these 3 little tiny microcosmic, macrocosmic topics that we brought up today. I think it's so cool to take the 40-day process into your work, right? No matter what you're doing. I think that is going to be a really unique and powerful time to take a step back and employ the gift of a Venusian retrograde recycle period is what I was going to say. I don't know why recycle, but that 40-day period, there's something to it. So you could employ that from the beginning of the year. You could employ that when the nodes shift, you could employ that during the actual Venus retrograde cycle. But that's when I did 40 Days of Spirit. And for all of you who have done it, the feedback that I have gotten, first of all, you guys have crazy insights, and it makes me so proud, right? Because this is simply you doing the work, just like Sarah was talking about, the realization that you're alone and nothing's going to change until I change. And the hard work of returning to innocence and stop fighting, stop the war, stop arguing with people, places, and things. There's no fixing, arguing, defending, or explaining. It's just taking full responsibility for this life. That is so hard when we're working with clients or ourselves that have extremely traumatic experiences where it wasn't their fault. As a Scorpio, I attract a lot of people with extreme situations. And the ability to kind of walk through the center line with that and help them be the Phoenix rising. It is not easy. 2025 is not going to be an easy year. Life does not get better, but we do. Right? That's a saying in recovery. Life does not get better, but we do. And so this idea of taking full responsibility for your emotions, no matter what has happened out there, and harnessing all of that and saying, I had a role here, right? We were, I'm doing a lot of side quests here, but in terms of Nadine's North Node and the return that happens there, all of you parents out there, all of you guys who have parented something, in my culture, the kids graduate when they're 18 and they go away, and that is a full nodal cycle that you have dealt with. And there's if you're having a nodal return, it could be that your kids are graduating. It could be that you are going through something. Where is it in your chart that you've had a full 18-year experience with? There's a grief with that. There's a win with that. And the exhilaration of the graduation, the rite of passage, the ritual processes that we go through at the end of that, Nadine, I think that's going to be really powerful for you and for anybody else going through that time passage, that cycle of life. I really went off topic there, but I just meant to bring up the 40 days is a powerful thing to do.
I love that. I love that prompt during Venus retrograde to the 40 Days of Spirit. That feels like a beautiful invitation. Yeah.
Ooh, Dez's youngest daughter graduates May of 2025. That's when Saturn enters Aries. Interesting. And you will be maybe an empty nester.
One thing I think also about like this Saturn coming to the 0 Aries. And so if the 0 Aries is the inner child and Saturn is becoming the adult that we needed when we were children, and that conjunction is this responsibility moment, like there's really an opportunity to do that work and claim our space as the adults that we needed when we were a kid, and so that can bring up a lot of things, especially the North Node is going to be in Pisces, where there's a lot of like retrogrades and stuff like that. So the emotional work is deep, but like you said, like it doesn't get easier, but we get better. I love that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm refraining from my million stories that I want to go into.
The thing with Tiffany, Celeste, and me is that we have a chat where we are always processing our astrology. So very much these conversations are what we do in our downtime as well, and it's just like a continuing of a conversation. So we could go continue into going deeper and deeper, and which is what we're gonna do during this workshop. And it's been so appreciated from the people who saw it previously. I know we have a lot of returning people would listen to the recording during the year. It's full of information. We have Tiffany's talent with dates and organization to back us up, and then we really go into each moment, each pivotal moment, and give you some thoughts and some advice. this is really one of our favorite things to do. So I hope everybody will join us when we do this. And it's always a pleasure to be together. So whoever's going to be there is going to have fun with us.
Yes, absolutely. So I have the link up for you guys. The software tends to close beforehand. So please, if you're trying to register the same day, it's problematic. Please register in advance. And we would love to work with you in person or on live and Zoom so that we can answer your questions. We have some predictions from last year, like that came true. I'm just saying that we nailed it last year. And so
I'm looking, I just pulled them up and I see Sarah's The Rise of Right-Wing Extreme Politics in Europe. That has been such a big thing with what was going on in France and now Germany.
We had a lot of things. I don't want to touch an open wound right now, or like because we're holding the American elections softly, but there was something about Pluto's first dip in Aquarius in the past and what happens to countries, maybe something, just saying.
Yeah. I said storms.
Right. We spoke about floods, about the possibility of floods and structures of water breaking down. I don't know if you saw, but yesterday in Spain, there was a really tragic flooding in Valencia with many people passed away and the city was destroyed. They had 1 year's worth of rain fall in a few hours. Of course, we had the devastating hurricanes of South Carolina, Asheville. My friend who lives in Asheville, the city was totally destroyed, and in Florida as well. So all of these things, and so now that Saturn is moving out of Pisces, so hopefully, but it's moving into Aries, so yeah, fires.
Yeah, I said a TikTok ban.
Yeah, our prediction last year was really right on. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys have with these thoughts and for us to pull our brains together. Earthquakes, what I was thinking, Des, is I was thinking of Uranus and Taurus. And I did a bit of research to look at earthquakes since Uranus was in Taurus. There was some pretty terrible ones. That sounds like a Uranus and Taurus story. With Saturn in Aries, I'm thinking maybe, like fires. Fires have been a problem in Canada, in California. I mean, all over. A lot of destruction, not having structure around, what could catch in an instant. 6.1 in Oregon yesterday. Yeah.
And specifically volcanoes that are around the islands, like the water volcanoes that happen. I'm sure there's a name for that. Yeah. Were you okay? Were you going to chime in on that, Sarah? Or
No, I'm just
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the other
agree.
cool thing Nadine brings up in the comments that we had Helene and Milton recently, right? And this was during eclipse season. And so this, paying attention to the eclipses next year in terms of, we do have an eclipse in Pisces. We do have them in Virgo. We do have one in Aries next year. And we're going to go deep in that. And I'm just holding the reins back because I want to unleash what I want to share with that, but I'm going to wait. However, because she put Helene in the comments, Helene is a moon of Saturn, right? And we're talking about Saturn and Pisces, and we're talking about it moving from water to fire, and the weather events that we have seen in the extreme, right? In the extreme. And so I think that's an interesting tidbit. The Pisces eclipse recently, because we're recording this in October of 2024, and so the Pisces eclipse stirred up a lot. We had a main water pipe break in our public pool in Austin, which is a spring-fed pool. We had a boil water notice in West Texas. We had bridges breaking. I had a friend that had a mold exposure situation that went rampant. You'll see, right, during eclipse season, these moments of intensity. They're not all bad, but I think the thing is, when we get to worrying about like massive weather events, you're not so surprised by them when you start studying astrology. You just say, oh, that's where that is. Recently, I attended a workshop that you were hosting, Celeste, and we were talking about, like, could we be more specific? So yeah, we predicted some food chain disruptions, and yeah, they happened, but could we have been more specific where exactly they are? So as I grow and develop as an astrologer, this is a tool that I'm trying to fine tune. So I have some ideas I'm going to throw at you guys in the 2025 predictions workshop. In that workshop that you were leading, some of the advice was look along the line where the eclipse is going, and sure enough, right? Sure enough, that's where a lot of the cataclysmic events were happening, at least in the States. So do you have anything else on that you want to share about, guys?
Can I share about, I'm looking back at my predictions from last year, and I said that Prison Break, March 10th, new moon with Mars square Uranus. And so I was looking up and I found Prison Break returning to Netflix in 2024, but only in the US. March 15th, 2024. All 5 seasons of Prison Break will now return to Netflix on July 29th, 2024, which was 2 weeks after the Mars-Uranus conjunction. So they squared, and it's like, oh, guess Prison Break's coming back. And they came together. That was the closing last quarter cycle. And then they came back.
That is so awesome. Yeah.
I have to do a post about that.
Yeah, you do. You know, it's so cool I mean, it brings order to chaos, astrology does. It brings clarity to a very distorted world that we live in. And so I think it's worthwhile to look back and see, like, oh, what did we get right? What didn't we get right? And where can we fine tune that as we grow and develop as astrologers? But I think
what's always so wonderful to witness is how Celeste gets hits in pop cultures. So a lot of Celeste's intuition hits will happen in songs, in movie lines, in characters. And so sometimes it's actually about the TV show. But it's so funny to witness and so cool.
Yeah, and I love that it was like a TV show. I'll keep looking to see if there's anything else, but I love that.
I'm glad it was a TV show and not
a real one.
I've had this experience. I was with some friends vacationing, and when we got there, they said, you need to be careful with your stuff, because they had just had a hurricane that devastated the area, and we knew that, and we knew what we were traveling into. And I said, oh yeah, why now? And he said, because the hurricane blew the top off of all of the roofs, including the prison, and so everybody just walked free. And like, there's some interesting historical stuff that has happened with it. It made me like go down this bunny hole of a prison break study. But yeah, I'm glad that it was in the fiction instead of the real space. Des is in the comments, and she says the skies don't lie. So that's something. Des took my certification course last year, and that was something that we thought, like, well, we got to make a shirt about that, the skies don't lie, or a bumper sticker or something, because it's like you say, Celeste, astrology is so literal. And so yeah, very cool.
I love that the skies don't lie.
Yeah.
I might steal that. I might steal that, Des. Is that okay if I use your line?
It's me, but you can use it, Celeste.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's your line, Tiffany.
I
Oh,
mean,
I'm sorry.
that's a total product that you can have on your multi-product site.
Yes.
Tiff, like that sweatshirt. The skies don't lie. The
They
sky
don't.
don't lie.
Sky don't
Love
lie.
it.
They
Yeah.
don't. Just a map. Well, guys, let's wrap up. It's been an hour. This has been juicy and fun. If you missed the first part of the conversation, it'll be available on YouTube. Also, we'll send it out as a link so that you can access the replay. I hope that you've had fun. Let us know. We just to do a quick recap, right? We talked about the nodes shifting. We talked about this intense retrograde period, the first part of the year. And then we fine-tuned some kind of inner psyche work with looking at some of the fixed, or one of the specific fixed stars that will be activated. But our full predictions workshop is much more, it has more detail. I can't wait to tell you. I'm just bursting at the seams to get this conversation going. It's happening on 11/11. And yes, anything else before we come to a close, guys, that you want to share? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to end our live stream and I'll hang out with you guys in the back room, and we'll see you guys around. You can find Sarah at astroauntie.com. She's on all of the platforms, and Celeste is Astrology by Celeste. She also has a really cool both of them have cool podcasts. We all three have cool podcasts. So find our podcasts, and I'm Tiffany at tiffanyharelik.com. All right. Thanks, guys.